the political death of Joe Biden was that he hadn't been doing interviews because of how poorly he performed in them. Nor did he do press conferences because of how poorly he performed in them. And I'm wondering if Kamala Harris isn't sort of digging herself the same grave by setting what will be the expectations for the interviews, the debate, or the press conference so high.
Well, I think that's an astute point. I think there are three things going on here. Briefly, Kamala Harris is getting a pass. And it's, not just the media, the electorate, judging by the polls, also don't seem to care that much that she's not yet doing these interviews. Secondly, the campaign, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why do they want to borrow trouble by putting her in a place where she could have a gaffe or have the word salad? And then finally, I think it reveals a real concern with the Harris campaign that she may word salad it, that she may have a gaffe. And therein lies your point, that there could be this self-fulfilling prophecy, that the narrative that's surrounding this preventive approach is starting to paint her as someone that can't take the interviews because she'll make a mistake. And then when we watch the interview, we will be looking for something that we didn't look for previously.
Right, or if somebody's been through the paces of Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina and been on the trail for 20 months, as most presidential candidates in her position would be, and the campaign's doing what they're supposed to do, which is putting their candidate in the best position to win. Having her off script has never worked out well, so you don't have her off script. You say the voters don't care, and that's sort of the argument you hear, right, from her supporters. Well, the voters don't care. The media should stop being so self-important, which would be interesting when you think about the egos of the people in the media. That said, do the voters not care because the media, who they listen to, don't care either?
Well, when I say the voters don't care, I mean that the polls are kind of trending with her momentum at the time. I do think that sort of it's still early, and post DNC, this will become an issue that the voters will care about. And to your point, absolutely. I think, there's a spectrum of media outlets that cover political media, and one end of the spectrum doesn't really care, and those are largely sort of broadcasting to people who are very forgiving for Democratic candidates. So again, I've said this before, I'm surprised that it hasn't become a bigger issue. And when she does do an interview, we'll see where she goes, will be revealing. I still think it'll be a 60 minutes thing that'll be live to tape and it'll be edited.
And biographical and happy. And of course, look, the media, it's the same media that's covering Kamala Harris, the same reporters are the people who told us that Joe Biden was just fine and doing calculus and cartwheels in order to protect him and to protect their access to the White House. We're always told that the media is never good enough or well organized enough for a conspiracy to protect somebody, and there's biases, but the media is in it to make money. Then you learn from the New York Times, of all people, for their reporting, Dana Walden, top ABC executive with a personal connection to Kamala Harris. The candidate is a longtime friend of Dana Walden, senior Disney executive whose portfolio includes ABC News, the host of the next debate. ABC says she does not weigh in on editorial decisions. Isn't there something more about this, that it's not that there is necessarily explicit orders, but that the very sort of elite part of the American media are the same people who like hanging out in the Hamptons and like getting invited to the parties of all the Democratic donors, who also like hanging out with all of the Democratic politicians?
I mean, absolutely. Like Dana Walden, who oversees, ABC TV, which includes ABC News, which has been a mess of late, and there's no president of ABC News right now, which makes that issue larger. She introduced Kamala Harris to her husband, and who's an entertainment lawyer. And Kamala has a home in Brentwood, California, and she's very close to Dana Walden. I don't think Dana Walden is going to be sort of leaking questions for a debate. I do think that the appearance of this is enough to raise serious questions, and I am shocked that former president hasn't used this. He loves to lace into the fake news media and ABC and all this stuff. George Slopadopoulos, he loves to say. But this is sort of like at football, like on a tee. That's like, why aren't you going after this one? I'm sort of shocked that Trump has to chase this, because if the New York Times is reporting it and you and I are talking about it, it's a legitimate story.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.